Yeah, I know Gary well from just being brutalized fucking posing. If you plan on posing at any national level show, you go see Gary.
Yeah.
Cody Montgomery learned that. I remember, what was that 3 years ago?
Oh my goodness.
That was a rough day for Cody. Been there. But no, that day with Cody was an interesting
yeah.
one.
Holy cow.
I think I think that's everybody's first reaction to posing with you. And I remember you just drilling into my head. Hold your pose. I went there like holding poses in the mirror for like 4 seconds. Like after 3 poses, I'm like, oh no, I'm in trouble.
Well, you know what? For free. Well, yeah, we can go ahead. We'll talk about this online.
Yeah. But we'll get started. Everybody, good morning. We have a wonderful HWMF podcast for you today. We have a couple gentlemen in here that I've known you for quite some time. Gary Sheru, getting to meet you in person for the first time. But everybody, we have 2 gentlemen in the room right now that are major parts of our bodybuilding industry. Mr. Gary Udit.
Thank you, Seth.
And Sheru.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure. I remember it was probably 10 years ago, whenever the first Sheru Classic.
Yeah.
That was like heyday for me, just in love with bodybuilding, watching everything. And the Sheru Classic came, it was, I think, Phil Heath.
Yeah, Phil Heath,
Jay
Jay Cutler,
Cutler.
the All Olympia lineup. It went to India and we, replicated same lineup 1 week after Olympia.
I remember it.
I
remember it. That was whenever I was watching everything. It was super cool to that's whenever I was just in love with bodybuilding. I still am, but just dead set on everything. But Gary, you and I have quite the past together.
Long time.
What is it? 2021. 2021. You and I met at the 2009. What was that? The Northern Ohio. That was the first time I got to see you in person.
That was the Natural Northern Ohio.
The Natural Northern Ohio.
Dave Lieberman puts on, and Bill Comstock, I think, had contacted me and said, "You got to see this guy."
Yeah, that's what happened. So we were. I'll never forget it.
That was in March.
Yep.
And I think your plan was to compete at the Pittsburgh in May.
Yeah. Everybody told me. I didn't know you were like a myth. I knew you were from Pittsburgh, but you're like, how whenever you're young, fucking intense and ready for bodybuilding, you just hear names. Oh, you got to go see Gary.
I've been called a lot of things. A myth has never not been one of them.
Well, from a young, I'm 23 years old. What was I was 23. No, I was 24 years old, and I love bodybuilding. I want to be an IFBB pro, and they're like, you got to pose for Gary. I'm like, I keep hearing this Gary guy. I trained at Webb's, and they're like, yeah, Gary Udit. He'll stop in every now and then. I'm like, all right, I got to see this. I got to see Gary. I can see Gary. And they're like, yeah, you got to pose for Gary. I'm like, I'll pose for Gary. And it was the guys that were there. They're like, I can't remember who it was. Somebody was telling me after prejudging on Saturday at the Lieberman show, I was helping out there. They're like, just get up on stage, take all your clothes off, get up on stage and just start posing. And
I think all of our guys were there. Rick and Andy were there.
Yep.
Dave Lieberman, obviously. And, the reason I was good at it was because I genetically sucked. So that I had to win contests by posing my rear end off and being in shape. Yep. So when guys like you came along, it used to drive me crazy because I think, wow, this body should never lose. So let's fix this.
Yeah. And that's what it was. I remember, and they're like, just hop up on there. So I hopped up on there, and that was really, I was gun shy with everything in bodybuilding, even posing up in front of everybody. And I just remember posing, and you were like, yeah, you need to stand here, do this. And I'm like, okay, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know what's happening right now. So I just went through all the poses. And then after it was over, everybody's like, yeah. And then I remember you saying, we got a lot to work on. You're going to have to come see me. And I'm like, all right. And that's where it all started for me with Bill Comstock took pictures, sent him to Hani, George, Steve Blackman from MD, all that shit. But that's where you and I first met.
And then your career went skyrocketed.
It was nuts. It has been a wild turn of events. I definitely have had the roller coaster career. I always say I don't have any regrets in life, but one that I recently, with everything that I've gone through in the past year and a half, like making sure my health's good, all these things, I look back and say, I wish I would have competed more. That's my only regret, is I wish I would have been more mentally stable back then to be like, and go push flex. Because I think that he and I could have had a great rivalry in that 212
Yeah,
category.
but if you think back, I remember this well. You were tough on yourself, and you always thought, "I got to get better. I have to get better." Whereas we were saying, "It's time, get up on that stage." But you were the harshest critic of yourself.
I was horrible on myself. I know it. That's why I said like just mentally stable enough. And I think a lot of guys in bodybuilding have that problem. Really hard on themselves, and then like any criticism that comes from online, because things happen so quick, they just get even further down on themselves and just put yourself in a rut. Whereas I look at young guys, I'm like, no, I was like, go have fun, go put yourself out there, go compete, go enjoy it, because it's not going to be around forever. Because
Well, especially because the gains you were making, it wasn't like you were standing still. You kept getting better and better and better, and the only person that didn't see it was you.
yep, that's the truth. And I mean, you've been around. We'll get into this, your history and who you are exactly for everybody that doesn't know. But you've been around this sport for so long, so that you see it. It's easy to see. It's easy to just be like, just get out of your own way, you stupid son of a bitch. It's nice you saying it very politely to me now. I appreciate it. But that's what it was. But we have you on here. So everybody that doesn't know you, you are, again, you've been in the industry for, just give us the rundown if you don't mind.
Get the good fortune of being in Pittsburgh, which meant I was 5 minutes away from Jim Mannion, and actually met him when I walked in the gym at the YMCA in Pittsburgh.
What year was that?
And that was that had to be 1976.
Man.
And I think Jim I realized there was something called the Mr. Pittsburgh, and he had Arnold and Franco coming in as guest posers at the Hilton. And he beat some guy up in the gym that day. And I didn't know. All I knew he was Jim Mannion. He ran bodybuilding. I said, who the hell is that guy? And I
want to be friends.
Good idea to be on his good side, because it took 4 of them to pull him off. And then they pulled him off. He's like, I'm fine. Of course, he jumped back on him and drove him a few more times.
Jim is an Italian for sure.
So that was my introduction to Jim Mannion. And then went to the shows, and then started to compete in them, and then started to help him run them backstage. I worked for him running them. And I'm a crazed detail guy. So I suggested when his next show was coming up, I go, how about if we get together? I got a bunch of questions to ask you. And I showed up with the notebook that I still have in his car today, believe it or not, and met him and his wife, Debbie, downtown for dinner, and asked him a series of questions. How would you like this? How would you like the awards to go? And he just rattled off answers. And the first thing he said to me, I'll never forget this. He goes, the first person you need to take care of is the athletes. He goes, without them, we have nothing. So you got to take care of them first. So we strive to make the day correct for them in every way and smooth out that whole backstage expediting thing. And it went from there. I started putting on small events around the region. The first one, to give you a quick story, another guy and I put on a contest down in the Oakland area, and we worked our tails off to put this thing on. It was called the Gold Ring Classic, and worked like hell, promoted the heck out of it. Nice amount of athletes. No one came to watch it hardly. I was the MC that day. So I walked on stage and I looked at the crowd, and there was hardly anyone there, and I was pissed off. So I yelled at the people in the audience, I can't understand why more people didn't come. Of course, I get a phone call after the show, and he goes, so let me get this straight. You yelled at the people who came and supported your show. And I go, yeah, I was pissed off. And I actually went across the country, and actually John Lindsay called me. He goes, that's beautiful. You actually yelled at the people who paid to get in there.
Pretty good job.
So
You're a unique cat, huh?
That was the beginning of my MC career. But at any rate, it's all been led by him. I had the good fortune of being there and learned promoting 101 from Jim Mannion.
Sure, and that's what's build everything.
It is.
I mean, because that's what I love going to bodybuilding shows. It's great that everything's getting back. That's one of the reasons that we're here to talk today is bodybuilding coming back in person. We've all missed it, but how it's built is always a question. Like, how do people that run shows, that put shows on, quickly understand that it's no joke.
There's a lot of details, and a little OCD goes a long way.
A lot of unsexy stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the thing that nobody realizes backstage, what occurs backstage and how hard it is to get. I was one of them, so I'm just gonna. There's hundreds of people backstage, thousands at big shows that are the most important person on that day. So it's like, man, you got to just whip everybody's ass into shape. Make sure you have a great expediting team that just, here, this is when you're lining up and you're screaming at them. And they're like, why are you yelling at me? Because it's an organized show and the spectators are watching your ass. Get it together. That's incredibly difficult to do.
It really is. And we're lucky to have the best, truthfully, without stretch, the best team in the world. We really do. Rick Bayardi's team, all the way to the point that they expedite the Olympia, which says everything.
Rick is quite the character. I got to know him well, 2009. Sure. He just seems like he's one level.
Well, everybody, somehow, like you said, you have to deal with 1,500 athletes who are on a diet. And it's like chasing cats and trying to get them in line, but do it in a fashion. And I get emails and texts regularly after the show saying, I can't believe your staff. They're incredible. I'm telling all my friends. And they must do that because the numbers keep climbing.
The Pittsburgh's always been the most prestigious show in this area. It's one of the most prestigious shows as an amateur. Everybody knows that if you come to Pittsburgh, you're going to be in front of you, you're going to be in front of Jim, you're going to be in front of everyone. It is the show. It's the amateur show, and it's always had the 8 to 10 lineup of professional athletes guest posing. So it's like, and that's where you meet everybody. And it's one of the coolest things. I think it's one of the coolest shows I've won, just because it holds so much weight in Pittsburgh.
The only other place you could see that lineup of 7 or 8 guest posers was competing at the Olympia.
Oh yeah,
that's the only place they all showed up at one time.
That's it. I love it.
Yeah,
it's awesome. So 1976. So that's 24. Holy man, been at it for a minute, huh?
And I keep learning stuff along the way, you know.
And it's obviously learning stuff, but obviously it's evolved. Because I remember whenever I turned pro at Nationals in 2009, there was 585 or 595 competitors. It was the biggest Nationals ever. I was so pumped to be a part of it because everybody's like, this is the biggest Nationals ever. I'm like, yeah, and there was no bikini. There was no physique. There was nothing. There was no classic. It was just bodybuilding, fitness, and figure. That number is just incredible. And now, I mean, it's enormous, but that evolution over 11 years, 12 years.
Everything's changed, though. I mean, we've asked our promoters to upgrade everything because you have to. The staging is different with the LED wall backgrounds now. Lighting's better than ever. Sound systems. DJs are better. We got Freddie Nadeau doing our DJ work. He's the best in the country. All those little things add up to a fantastic event.
Yes. Because it's still a show. Yeah. It's a show.
It really is.
That's what everybody has to remember whenever you go. You're going for the show. You're going to see something spectacular. And that's why I'm such a huge fan of the sport, because it just clicked with me. I'll never forget. I got a picture. My friend has it. I haven't seen him and I haven't seen my friend Joe in probably a decade, but he got a picture of me and Jay Cutler. It was probably like 2001. Where we got a picture together, because I just remember seeing his calves and they were massive. And those are the moments that I can just remember about what connected me to the sport. And that's really what the goal is now, is to connect people to the sport and get them excited about fitness and cool shit. At least that phrase I like to use, because that's what this is about. Just making sure people feel excited to go on and do something cool.
Well, you look at what's taking place. We're in, for instance, looking at the Nationals coming up. We're in the Orange County Convention Center, which is a first-rate facility. It doesn't get any better. We've got the Hyatt Regency as our host hotel. Once again, first-rate facility. So every component now. And I think the last piece of the puzzle for us was creating an expo. So we've got Sheru involved as our expo director. He's created this incredible expo to go along with the incredible Nationals. People are going to be blown away.
Well, we'll just lead into that from there. All right. So, Sheru, with the Nationals now, last year you started. This was a partnership that you guys had together on this. I'll lead it into you.
Last year, Jim, whatever I am today, the brand Sheru Classic started from India. You know, Jim Mannion has played a very important role in my life, guiding me all the good times, the rough times, and, the low times. He's always been a mentor to me. Uh, we started from India in 2011. Starting Shiru Classic uh, was a dream come true for me. It's been a decade now. We are in almost 4 countries. But last year, Jim called me and told me about the opportunity about the NPC Nationals, which is his legacy, and this is our 40th year we coming into. But last year he told me, if I can get involved. So there was a sponsorship opportunity last year, which we did. But I thought it can become a much bigger, larger than a live show, because NPC Nationals is like a Super Bowl of bodybuilding, amateur bodybuilding in America. And if expo component can be added, it will bring a whole new experience, not even for the athlete, but even guiding and bringing all new visitors. So I thought that expo component should be added to that. And me, Gary, Tyler, Jim, we all had a meeting, so we decided to put an expo.
So this is now there's going to be an expo. It's not just a show.
It's a full-fledged expo in the auditorium, and everybody who will be visiting NPC Nationals this year gonna have a whole new different experience.
It's exciting.
We have more than 75 brands who are participating, including Accent Sledge. That's why we are here, and that's why I want to thank you and Pat for supporting us.
Oh, absolutely. No, we're excited. Again, that's why we're here, because I'm a huge fan of bodybuilding.
Yeah.
The sport has, I start every single YouTube video with IFBB Pro Seth Feroce.
Yeah.
The platform has helped create exactly everything that I have. And supporting the industry is our next big step with our companies, because it means so much to me, because whenever I talk on this podcast, whenever I talk anywhere, I talk about, people doing a good job, people going after the things that they want to and that they're passionate about. Bodybuilding is a business that is fueled by passion.
Yeah.
People love this sport.
People do need to understand that, IFBB Pro League is a very important, constitution, I'll say. Because of that, supplement brands, just to name few, like Accent Sledge, Redcon One, back in the days, EAS, these companies have built a valuation more than millions of dollars. Few companies, billions of dollars as well. People need to understand that because of the athletes, this industry is existing. And we all need to, bring back and bring the culture back, and just need to make sure that we all grow together.
Well, that's what's
from
wonderful.
The respective standpoint.
Absolutely, and that's what's wonderful about doing it in person again.
Yeah.
Because with COVID over the past 2 years, it has just thrown a monkey wrench into absolutely everything that's going on, and it was horrendous.
Yeah.
Because nobody knew what to do with shows. The New York Pros in Florida, every single show's in Florida, and it's like, yeah, it's the New York Pro in Florida. Yeah. Everybody's like, fuck it, I don't care. I'm excited. I just want to see shows. I want bodybuilding. I want to see bodybuilding shows again.
Yeah.
But now with this, bringing expos back is the next step.
Yeah, because the whole idea is to, apart from the championship, if we having a 2-day show, we need to make sure we contain the crowd. We need to make sure the consumer have 8 hours of good experience. So the plan is to grow the expo every year, year by year, from the bodybuilding standpoint and from the consumer standpoint. And most important thing, we have to make sure the companies which are participating, they come and we have a repetitive, customer base each and every year.
Sure. And so I'll ask these questions. In Florida, that's the same place that the Olympia was held.
Orlando Convention Center. And last year we did at same place, but this year we have having a bigger center. Gary has done amazing job in regards to the athletes as well. Gary, how much athletes we are expecting this year? 1,000, 800?
I think we should probably expect somewhere around 800 athletes this year.
All right.
So your time, it was 500 something. So it's almost double now.
Oh, yeah. With crossovers.
Yeah.
Everything like that. The new division is, I see it. I don't understand it. I don't think a lot of people, that's just all new divisions. That's how it is. Wellness.
Yeah.
How is that division doing?
It's incredible. It's something that started down in South America, and JM spotted it and suggested we do it here. And the NPC News Online, under JM's direction, they put out there tons of information, but they didn't put it out at once. They had a plan of slowly but surely feeding the information to the athletes so they weren't overwhelmed. And it worked because I was doing seminars around the East Coast, and girls were showing up with the correct wellness look. So they didn't think, okay, I just need a large lower body. They realized because of the information that they needed to be in condition.
This is the one question that I have, and I know so many other people listening, and competitors, coaches, everybody. It was like whenever women's physique first started. Everybody's like, what's the look? And you're like, listen, I see this in my head. This is how I'm interpreting it. I see this look that I want. I don't want somebody as lean in figure as they are. I don't want a girl as big in bodybuilding as they are, but I want something that has both. And people are like, man, that's a really vague, general, shitty definition of what you're looking for. And you're like, well, it's a new division. We have to find out what we're going to see from these competitors. And it's tough because I would imagine that whenever you see a competitor, you're like, that one's got the look. There it is.
There's no question. And the wellness division has solved a lot of problems.
Oh, yeah?
Because there were girls who would come to us regularly and say, I'd like to do bikini. However, their lower body was too big. Hips, glutes.
A little too
legs.
thick.
Exactly. A little bit too much. Sometimes because of genetics.
Yeah.
Many times. Sometimes because they were doing different kind of training that and their lower body responded too well.
Yeah.
And we would say, look, you gotta do figure or something else. You're too big.
Sure.
And sometimes they would go into overtraining and under eating to try to get the bikini look.
Yep.
So wellness has created a situation for another great body type to get on stage comfortably with smart training, smart eating, and the look is just working so well.
Shane, have you noticed how eloquently they politely put thick asses?
I know.
I just
right?
wanted to comment on that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I can't do that. They're much better at this than I am.
Jim Mannion had a talk with me before we came in here. He goes, listen,
you can't say certain things.
You're representing the brand, so careful.
This is teaching Seth Feroce how to censor.
Good, yeah, right.
You can't say something like some girl with a big ass.
But that's our sport is it's so revealing. I mean, I always joked about it because I'm like, man, I never thought, like, me being as hardcore as I am, like hardcore. I love rugged shit. I like whiskey, splitting wood, all this, and then here I am. I'm like, I'll get up on stage. I'll show you how shredded my ass cheeks are. Or you get like Branch Warren, who's one of the roughest hardcore Texans there are, and you're like, yeah, he'll get up there in his underwear and pose. This sport has attracted so many wild things, but it's also revealing, and it's also like moms and dads. I remember talking to him at shows, be like, my son loves you, huge fan. I don't understand bodybuilding. I'm like, Mom, Dad, calm down. He caught the bug. He's into it. Just run with it. There's no explaining what this does to us.
Well, this thing with wellness is it's actually no different than the way we've grown over the years. You take a look at things. Jim has had a way of doing things, and it has worked. Look at the men's physique division.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was a tough one. I'm not going to lie. It was a tough one for me to swallow at first.
Because here's the guys that would come to the contest. Nice look. They couldn't compete because maybe their lower body wasn't developed enough, or they just didn't want to be that size. So they'd come and stand in the back and watch it. And now because of this men's physique division, they've got a platform and somewhere to go, and it works because typically we'd say, wow, that guy would be great if he could stand behind a box. No, it's not the case.
Yeah.
And men's physique, it took care of that. Well, then the men's physique guys were, because of competitive instincts being what they are, started getting too big, and we let them get too big. So, okay, Jim and JM and Tyler said, wait, stop. And
we can grow, we can get bigger.
We got to get back to the integrity of the men's physique division and that look. So they created Classic.
Yeah.
And the bigger physique guys could go to Classic, and maybe sometimes the smaller bodybuilders also.
Yeah, I mean, that's the concept that me as a fan, and not in these meetings, obviously, and so many people listening and watching, it's like they're like, how does it actually work? And That's what we think it is. It's like it's just a platform for each person to grow from. Whenever men's physique first started, that was probably the most backlash you guys faced, huh?
Well, it does. And here was the deal. We didn't think it would. I was in a meeting, and we literally thought it would work only in certain pockets of the country that were more cosmopolitan.
No shit.
And instead, we kicked it off in March. Guys were running there to the point that by the time we had like four height classes. By the time I got to North America in September, we had to keep adding classes to accommodate the guys.
No shit.
Because it caught on so fast.
And I think, I mean, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm saying because of these new categories only, a lot of athletes, a lot of businesses also been, converted. I'll give you a small example. We conduct our show in India and in Colombia, Medellin. Wellness category is the fastest growing category because genetics in India and Colombia are very similar. The women there have the bigger thighs compared to the upper body. Same way, we started our show back in 2011. Till 2016, there was only one pro from India, one IFBB pro. Since gym allowed, we have more than 67 pros in India alone from 2017 onwards after the split. But out of 67, we have 90% of pro as either bikini or men's physique, because genetics of Indian athletes, they suit the men physique culture.
Mm-hmm.
And now the same trend we seeing in the wellness category. Our show in India is in about 4 weeks from now, 3rd, 4th, and 5th of December, which is 2 weeks before our national show here. But again, the trend which I'm seeing there right now, we have a lot of queries in regards to the women wellness and men's physique. So I think this was a right move. Based upon these new categories, athletes can find themselves more fitter, more fit into these categories, which is good for the athletes, good for business, and good for industry as a whole.
Absolutely, because whenever I say the industry, it's like I'm not just speaking about the IFBB and the NPC.
Yeah,
it's almost
a
like
bodybuilding.
It's like the world of bodybuilding or the world of fitness,
Yeah.
because these men's physique guys. Like I remember I was standing next to Branch at the Pittsburgh, and this was whenever it was coming around. Might have been somewhere else, but it was either here or in Ohio. And he's like, I can't believe this. I'm like, bro, there's a lot of people on that stage. And he's like, I know, I still can't believe it.
Yeah.
And almost a decade later, it's like it's huge.
Yeah.
And what it's done, I mean, the guys that are winning now, like you said, they're starting to get pretty big.
Yeah.
I remember Raymond came in, and I'm like, Ray's big as fuck. It's like Ray's a big dude. And then Brandon now, I'm like, these are big fellas. But it's awesome. I think it's cool, the evolution of the sport. It's enjoyable to watch.
It opens up our marketing
Yeah.
so that we don't have to just market that old Gold's Gym logo.
Yeah.
Sure.
Now it's a whole bunch of
And
other looks.
But it's probably also, I'd imagine, from a judging standpoint, it's hard because whenever you just get somebody up there that is just genetically fucking beautiful, you just get somebody up there that you're like, oh my God, you fit the mold of exactly what we've been looking for. It's one individual. He probably sucks at dieting. This is like 90% genetics up there. And you're just like, man, there it is. And he wins a show. And then people are like, how can he win, but he didn't do this or he didn't do that? It's such a tough thing because you've been around forever. I've been around the industry for long enough to be like, there's just people that are fucking aliens. They come out of left field and you're like, there it is.
So many of them are built by mistake because they've got some kind of incredible genetics. And whenever someone comes in for posing, I never get involved in their prep. But if someone's got that look, I'll ask, who in your family looks like this? There's somebody. There's an uncle or a grandfather or someone who never did a calf raise and they got calves like this.
Oh yeah, that's
Even in this category has done a lot of favor from the business standpoint as well. I'll give you a small example. All men's physique athletes are being signed by a company called Gymshark. We all know that.
Yep.
Gymshark, you know how much the valuation is right now?
It's got to be over $1 billion now.
Yeah, it's a $1 billion.
It's got to be.
So the men's physique category, if you see the passive, impact to the industry, when I say, because I talk numbers and I talk business.
That's it.
From that standpoint, if you see, because of the men's physique, category alone and the influencer marketing, you see how much the valuation and the companies, how much profit they are making in the back end. And that's the whole. That's what my point was when I mentioned earlier. We need to grow industry together, and IFBB Pro League is a very important institution, which directly or indirectly have a big impact on each and every individual who's involved in this fitness and bodybuilding industry.
Absolutely. Anybody that diets for a show, people automatically have a respect for.
Yeah.
Automatically. And it's really easy to look really good on Instagram every day until you go stand next to a motherfucker on stage and you're like, this is different than I thought it was going to be.
Well, Jim made a good point in a promo he did for GNC last year that if you've gone and picked up a dumbbell in order to change the way you look, you're a bodybuilder.
Yep.
Yes, whether you're competitive or not, but being a competitor, it's not for the faint of heart.
You're competing against yourself.
Oh.
Like Dwayne Johnson.
Well,
every other post is about the gym and the bodybuilding.
Yeah.
He's the biggest.
I mean,
Hollywood star.
even though it's our goal is to promote the sport day in and day out, we do. However, I've never once tried to talk someone into competing. They've got to have it in them, and they want to do it out of the passion for it, because it's not easy.
No, it's not. It's not easy at all. It gets intense, and I know personally I became obsessive.
What do you think the percentage is of people who begin a journey to compete compared to how many actually follow through and get on stage?
I don't know, the fact that you asked
20%?
I was just going to say I was thinking 25.
10 maybe.
Man,
I mean, there's a lot of people who would love to do it. They've seen you on stage. They saw their best girlfriend on stage. They have no idea what it took to get there.
Yep. Especially whenever it's like whenever you compete at a high level.
Yeah.
Whenever you get to a high level, like anybody that goes and competes at nationals, we're talking now like so many factors come into play.
Well, that's when I realized my lack of potential was after I'd won the Pennsylvania. We went to a national show. We saw that we went to the USA, and the light heavies were coming out, which would have been my class.
Yeah.
So I walked back to where they were walking out of the pump-up room, and it was Eddie Robinson and Franco Santoriello and Daryl Stafford. And I thought, there's not enough drugs in the East Coast to make me look like this.
No.
So I should probably get into judging and promoting.
I'm gonna stay in it, but I'm gonna find an angle. Yeah. No, that's something that people realize when they get to those levels. I remember
some people realize.
Really good point there. I'm not. Yeah, some people. No, it was one of those things for me. I remember I saw Peter Putnam. He won in 2008. He won the 2008 Nationals at light heavyweight, and I looked at the pictures. And I'm like, I can beat that guy. That's all I thought in my head. I was like, I think I can beat that guy. I'm like, I can beat that guy. And then that's whenever it all started kicking in my head.
So was it a 1-year journey from that day to the next nationals? A lot of times
I lived bodybuilding from the time I was like 14 years old. Lived it. Everybody was like, dude, are you ever going to compete? And I'm like, yeah, one day. But
for you, it was a passion, not a job.
That's what it was. It was passion. I was super insecure about myself. And I remember I'm not stepping on stage unless I'm comfortable enough to show my hamstrings, because my hamstrings sucked. And that was something I'm like, if I'm cool with showing my hamstrings to people, I'll get on the stage. And let alone I was known for just having wild looking legs. But that whenever I saw him 2008 win the light heavies and he turned pro, because at nationals, every single winner of the weight classes turned pro, I was like, I can win. I was like, I could beat that guy. And then lo and behold, everything that transpired, meeting Hani, him training me, just never telling me I look good, the prick. That was a blessing from him, because that was his way, just teaching me, dude, you're not gonna get attaboys from me. I'd send him pictures, be like, yeah, I'm good. He'd be like, where's your cardio at? I'm like, well, I'm doing 45 and 30. And he's like, you need to do 45 and 45 now. And I'm like, dude, you just broke my soul.
Well, that was something I learned from Jim. Some people would come in, especially before the big shows, the Arnold and the Olympia, and they wanted him to get a sense and have him look at them and give them feedback at that point. And they probably on the pro level had not posed or practiced since the last competition the year before. So they show up, and JM had a podium in his portion of the studio there. And they'd get up on it, and Jim would shoot it, and Jim would call. He goes, "So and so's coming. They can remain unnamed." And he'll say, "So and so's coming down once you stop down tomorrow." So I would, and he'd start putting them through the paces. And I lean over, I go, "What the hell is he doing?" He goes, "Just fix it."
Yep.
So we would.
Yeah. But that's a lot of people. That was Hani said the same thing to go see you. He's like, you got to go see Gary at 5 weeks out, 3 weeks out, and just over 1 week out. You got to go see him.
But it was so funny that these guys, they didn't put in the time to prepare because it wasn't part of their regimen. But I know for you, it always was.
It had to be. It had to be. And I was like, Hani always joked. He's like, you didn't know any better. He's like, you just were so in love that you didn't know any better. You just knew how to do things to a T. If I told you to do this, you did it exactly that way.
I can remember watching you guys when he was training you at the exercise warehouse in Bloomfield.
Yeah.
And you guys were doing triceps, and he was really specific on how that would happen.
That's his style. That's what just meshed with my personality too. And then what happened was I got a little excited and a little too full of myself there for a minute. And that's whenever he's like, I remember, he and I talk now and we've been friends for years, but whenever we had our falling out, it was because he was looking out for my best interest and I was looking out for my best ego.
So were you ever aware of the impact you had on athletes that looked up to you?
Yes and no. I did, but for me, it was my home life was falling apart. And whenever I fell apart at Toronto in 2012, that's whenever I just lost all confidence in myself. I lost all confidence in myself. I knew people loved me, but whenever I lost, because I never lost up until that time. I just won all my shows.
Yeah, you were on a string.
And I thought I deserved to win because I was Seth Feroce, not because of how hard I worked. So that was whenever everybody's political bullshit, whenever they're like, yeah, Jim, Gary, you guys are from Pittsburgh. I'm like, well, I just kind of got my ass handed to me, and I definitely posed for him 4 weeks prior to this, and it didn't fucking help.
All you'd have to do is point to Edgar Fletcher, who trained at the NPC gym every day and couldn't turn pro.
Yeah. And I mean, and these things, and whenever people were curious about politics and knowing people, and all the local people, I'm like, did you pose for Gary? Go pose for Gary, because if someone knows you look good going into a show, if Gary's like, yeah, I've seen this guy going in, man, watch for him. He's going to look great. And if he comes and shits the bed and shows up a water buffalo, everybody's like,
so the reason I bring up the idea of how people were affected by you, I was in the gym one day and a guy is working out, and there's a classic move that you do. You have back then it was wired headphones, and you had your headphones in, and you'd be chewing on it while you're doing your workout.
Yeah,
and there was a kid in the gym, and I go, so what's up with that? And he goes, Seth does it.
So people told me that all the time, and they're like, why would you do it? I'm like, I did it because I was short, because my torso is literally 18 inches, and the string was so long, so whenever I do anything, it would get caught. And now we have wireless, obviously, but I'd put it in my mouth so it was just tight to my body.
I'm not sure if you'd remember this, but there was a time when ESPN used to show the Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
So they had it on. Dorian was in it the year Dorian won. So they would, before they showed him posing, they did a short interview or a synopsis of him working out. And he was doing the reverse grip rows, which no one in the country did. We always did them this way. Here. He was doing them this way, and his back was like this. So the next day on Sunday morning at 9 a.m., everyone in the country was doing reverse grip rows.
Damn right they were.
So he was guest posing at Jim's contest. First time he's in the country, about 4 weeks later. I was late getting to the main hotel, which has since been gone many years, and the last seat was next to Dorian. So here I am with him. I don't know him, but he's quiet, not saying much. And I asked him about this scenario. I said, "You realize the impact you have on people." I tell him this situation with the reverse grip rows, and in his manner, he said, "I should have balanced a banana on the back of my neck." And I go, "My man, I would have had a banana on the back of my neck. I guarantee it."
For sure. But that's the cool thing about social media now, because I've realized the power of the impact that you can have, and how much power is held with what you say, and what kind of influence you have, and that's why, for me, I tell everybody, be a hardworking motherfucker. That's why the HWMF podcast, Be a hardworking motherfucker. I don't care what you do. I don't care what angle you are and what industry you are in. If you are a hardworking motherfucker, if you put everything that you have and everything that you are into it, spectacular things will happen in your life. If you're a chef, I want to hear all about it. Tell me about how you're a chef. Where are you a chef? Tell me your best meal. That's why I love bourbon, scotch, because I love people's craftsmanship. I love hearing about this and how your story came about and how you helped build what this is. Like having an impact on the unsexy part of a show, the backstage stuff that people know has to occur, but know nothing about it.
Well, just as you talked earlier about team and how things are here at Axe and Sledge.
Sure.
And your whole team of people, and even though those 43 people you got working for you, it's a big team. It's the same way with us. We got what's arguably the best team ever on this thing. With Sheru running the expo and developing that incredible size. Robin Chang, there's no one better. He ran the Olympia for how long? Doug Green is taking care of our LED wall and lighting. Sound system, Freddie Nadeau, the best there is. Rick Bayardi's A-Team. JM, Adam Jensen, JM's wife, Debbie, pounding out the promotions every day. I mean, it doesn't get any better, and the whole thing is such a team effort. It's what it takes.
Sure, I agree, and it's awesome to watch the show. I'm excited to see it. I'm just excited that an expo is occurring.
Yes, you have to come on 18th,
I'm
which you promised me.
I know
It's official now, right?
it's official now. Huh? Yeah. No, but it's exciting because I remember whenever they took away the Arnold in 2020, whenever they were like, we're not having it anymore because of COVID, I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be a big deal. This is going to send shockwaves through everything because this is an in-person sport. You can't do this shit digitally. You can't do it.
We looked for ways.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, no lie. The conversations were about some kind of a way to do it through Zoom. There's got to be a way. I was like,
man, you thought people hated you now. They're really going to fucking hate you.
Yeah, I mean, it's only because we're out of
very in-person sport.
Frustration and desperation.
It's very in-person, and more than anything, the legacy of NPC Nationals when we talk about.
Well, sorry, no, you just brought up the legacy. This is the 40th year.
And starting from Lee Haney, and
is that the first person that won
so many
Nationals?
champions this show has produced, including yourself.
I remember when he won, and I remember we went to see the show, and as we were walking in, Jim came up. He goes, "Wow, wait do you see this guy? He's unbelievable."
No shit.
Yeah. He went on to become 8-time Mr. Olympia.
Yep.
After that, you have Rich Gaspari, you have Kevin Levroni.
Yep.
So many
Kevin.
names.
I hate Kevin so much.
Sean Ray.
That's a joke. I love Kevin. Everybody's seen the leg video of me training with Kevin and beating the hell out of me.
And now upcoming guys like Hunter Labrada. The next one of the shining star, I'll say. Time to come.
The dudes coming up, I'm huge fans of because I feel like there's a resurgence of bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Hunter Labrada, Nick Walker, exciting guys that are making the sport super exciting.
Yeah.
Because whenever the Kai Green and Phil Heath era ended, it's like there was like a balloon that popped that we're all like, man, these guys actually they're kind of too nice to each other.
Yeah.
Whereas the people that hate each other, because the Ronnie and Jay thing was great. Yeah. And then Kai and Phil came, and I think Kai and Phil kind of actually hated each other a little bit. I don't know much of them. I think they made it seem like they did if they didn't. But then now we're in this portion where we're like, okay, there's Mr. Olympias that are new ones are coming in, and it's like we're waiting for this new wave, and I believe this new wave is happening. Yeah. The Hunter Labrada, the Nick Walker, the Ian, Steve Kuklo up there at the Arnold killing it. So I'm excited because this is an exciting time for open class bodybuilding. Yeah. And it's been a long time since it's been exciting.
Yeah, National has been known to, open doors for upcoming new champions, a lot of talent. Winning, this particular show is like a Super Bowl of bodybuilding, I'll say. You can't get bigger than this.
And
you lived the experience yourself.
Yes. Nationals is the biggest amateur show in the country.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I love it.
And I'm fortunate enough to be part of this, and want to say on record a big thanks to Jim Mannion, who's, taught me I'm able enough to run the expo part. And like Gary said, we have a very strong team, and it's all team effort. We pray to God, we bring the best of the best, and people are going to like.
Absolutely, because it's supposed to be exciting for everybody. Yeah. The competitors, the people, the spectators. It's a show.
Yep.
And every competitor, like I said, I wish I would have competed more. That is a regret that I have in life. Don't be shy. All competitors need to stop being shy. It is your moment that you get on stage, those 60 seconds, those minute and a half, those times that you're on stage. You have to have a personality where you are posing the same one you are posing in the mirror, where you have that confidence. You need to be prepared and go do the same thing. Have fun. Feel it. Let all the emotions come through, and because those emotions are what the crowd feels.
Yep.
And it's hard to do. That was a hard thing for me back in the day because I was like, maybe I'm not as good as such and such. But at Nationals, at the Pittsburgh, at Nationals, at Dallas, I had that. I felt it. I loved it. But
It's almost like you need to do some poses right now.
no. I keep joking. I keep fucking with people online.
We could run through it right now if you want to.
You
Still
get
look
the
good,
fuck
man.
out. You're not coming back.
You still look very good.
Well, no, I
You're
joke.
in great shape.
I feel great. That's a subject matter that's a hot topic right now. You guys know it. You guys know how I feel. You guys watched the video on it.
How old are you, Seth?
30. I'll be 37 next week.
Wow, about that.
I know. I joke with people all the time about me being.
So you realize that next year, on July 24th, in Pittsburgh,
I don't want to
at
hear
the
it.
Sheraton Station Square, I'm giving you a picture. Sheraton Station Square, on that stage in the ballroom, is the Masters World Championships. I'm just saying, what a sweet
I'm
title!
aware of it, Gary.
What a sweet title to win.
No, it's funny because I keep joking with everybody on my Instagram stories and stuff that I'm 30 pounds away from classic.
Wow.
Because I'm 210 every morning, and I'm like, man, I got to make 181. I was like, I think I can do it if I stop eating for a few months.
So I can give you some details on the Nationals, just so everybody knows. We're using the Hyatt Regency on International Drive as the host hotel. Orange County Convention Center, right across the street. We were there last year. We're in the same facility, but a different hall, a bigger facility. In there will be the competition, the expo, the check-in, hair and makeup, and tanning. So everything's housed inside the convention center. Real easy stuff, right across the street. Yeah,
it is awesome. I have a couple questions regarding international. I don't travel much internationally. We went to Australia, but you bringing up your shows over in Colombia.
Yeah, we've been doing our show in Colombia since 2018.
What is the difference of the demographic? How is it perceived? Like, so for example, India, the Sheru Classic, I remember it was fucking insane watching it online.
Yeah.
Watching people and the response.
That show has, grown humongously. I mean, we get in our expo more than 200,000 people. In fact, since last 2 years, we've been unable to conduct any show. But since last two months, we started with the smaller shows, but big expo is back, including Amateur Olympia. We are the licensee holder for the Amateur Olympia. Then we conduct our pro qualifiers. We do 3 pro qualifiers in a year. And then we were planning to bring pro show back this year, but because of COVID, we want to move it for the next year. But this year, December 3rd, 4th, 5th, we have Amateur Olympia. And then we have the full-fledged expo, the Sheru Classic, IHFF, in which we expect more than 400 brands to be there. And plus the visitors are open now. Everything is open back in India, which is good for the industry.
I was just going to say everything's open now.
Yeah, everything is open. International traveling as well got open earlier this month. We expect more than 600 to 700 athletes minimum from surrounding countries.
No shit.
So which
is exciting.
It's good for the industry, and we expect to be back in Colombia as well next year. But as of now, India is fully open.
Seth, I don't know if you've ever seen video of what their expos look like.
He was just showing me.
They're goddamn believable.
I've never been.
When JM was down in South America and they were down there judging some shows, they came back with videos and photos. It was incredible.
I feel like in America, I remember late 90s, early 90s, late 90s here was fucking crazy.
Yeah.
It was insane. The craze for bodybuilding was out of control. And then I remember in the later, the 2010s, early is whenever over in Europe, things were just pumping. Like it was like the 90s here, whenever it was just crazed. It was massive amounts of people that just love bodybuilding and want this. They want the look. They want it all. And that's why I was asking over there, because that video you showed me of over there was
because
2 years ago was nuts.
Because you see, bodybuilding is a art, is a sport, and you just need to find out a way how you can display it. So what we do, we use people like Kai Green. We make it very articulate in terms of last day of we do 3 days of expo. So last day of expo, we cut our expo 2 hours before the cutout time. We make it like a concert. Get all the people in, get all the exhibitors to shut their booth. Everybody come in, and we make it like an open. People can stand and watch. Kai Green can display his posing, but with the costume. So we create as a sport entertainment property.
Sure.
Not even a normal guest pose, but with the costume and with the Indian dancers dancing in the back end, and his displaying the whole new, like how beautiful a body can be.
So that's what's difficult for me. I don't know the culture, because you're displaying, you're putting on a show for a completely different culture than here.
Yeah.
And whenever I watch, I'm like, man, that's some different shit. Yeah. But meanwhile, it's like, no, that's what that culture wants. They love seeing it. That's
but at the side by side, we're conducting the main show as well. Nevertheless, we don't compromise in regards to core. Core is still the bodybuilding, but you need to figure out a way, depending upon which country you are in, how you can contain the crowd. Mercedes-Benz, BMW, McDonald's, they went to India first. They all failed. They have to adapt the market. Based upon that, they come up with the new idea. They come up with the new things. So just to make sure that the company and the profitability in that particular market makes a lot of sense to them.
So
Same thing. I think what Dana White did in UFC, we're trying to do with our expo here. That's what we don't want to say too much. Wait till the expo happen. We're trying to create a sport entertainment property.
Well, I was just going to say, with what you're explaining, I've heard this before, because as we grow our company, Accents Legends, we grow internationally. Like we're an ever expanding brand. It's insane how we've grown. But going internationally, the more people we talk to, they're like, you have to be careful. International is not the same as America.
You need to maneuver.
It is. The cultures are different. The customers are different. They buy differently. They buy different flavors. They buy different products, because if you don't know their culture, if you're not ingrained and you don't know, you won't sell. It's like how I know how to sell shit to roughnecks.
Yeah, exactly.
I am one. I love this. And it's a similar things in different countries.
Because you relate to them.
Oh, absolutely.
I
don't know how to relate to them.
For me, it's easy for me to sell anything in India. For me, I can't sell a shit to the redneck, even $1. You know what I'm saying? So it depends on where we are. But
pretty funny.
What we can do is we can collaborate. You go to India, I come here. What happens? The industry grows. What happens? The brand grows. So that's what the whole idea of the NPC Nationals is as well. Coming back to the show again, that's what we're trying to do here.
That's where I was heading to. There's a mutual respect.
Yeah.
Whenever you have a mutual respect, profound things occur.
Exactly.
And if people don't understand that, that's a thing that a lot of people have a hard time understanding, is that if you don't have a mutual respect for what is going on, your importance and these people's importance and the collaboration, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Cool shit won't occur.
Exactly.
And that's
and never be scared to test, never be scared to experiment, because if you do not make any effort, things won't happen.
Well, that's
you need to evolve.
You mentioned the DJ at the shows, and
Freddie.
then the LED lighting and all that. That was a topic at the Olympia.
Yeah.
People talking about how fucking intense things were behind them during the posing, and they're like, no, they should just have a curtain. They should just have it blank. And I'm like, okay, I know where you're coming from. I know where everybody's coming from, but we have to have, it's an experience.
Yeah.
It's a show. If you just put a dark curtain there with one person on stage and a light, I understand the dramatic effect, and I understand how much people love just the beauty of the physique.
Yeah.
But some people aren't made to pose that way. Some people aren't made to that look, and this is a show, and that's what's cool about it, because you have to put on a show.
Yeah.
You have to display different things, and don't think that everybody's not learning as they go forward.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
I've seen it everywhere. Everybody had side by side shots of Ramy behind all the shit going on behind him with the lights, and then they're like, it looked way more beautiful with this, and I'm like, well, yeah, but that's a shitty show. It's just
Somewhere in there is probably a happy medium
there's got to be, but if you don't ever do what just occurred at the Olympia, you won't ever know.
for sure.
Like, what happens if there's a bunch of cool shit blowing up, and then we got advertisements for the companies on the sides, and this cool light show that's being displayed? Let's do it.
Yeah.
Spent tens of thousands of dollars on the sons of bitch. Let's put something on people haven't seen.
Yeah.
And plus, people being in person that's where I'm at.
It's everything.
I love the fact that it's back. I love the fact that everything's back in person.
Yeah.
But no, this has been great, gentlemen. I really appreciate you guys coming on.
Thank you for taking the time.
Oh, absolutely. I'll touch on a hot subject because everybody listening is expecting me to ask the questions, talk about it. Everything in this industry going on right now with all the passings of bodybuilders, it's a hot subject. It's something that people are making every video under the sun about. I made my video. Everybody has watched it. But I think too many people are pointing the fingers at the people that have built something like yourselves that are a part of this. They're pointing the finger at people who are the platform that has been built.
Yeah.
I think people today need to make sure that they take accountability for themselves and everything that they do. I know that it's tough, and it's the hot subject about what to do, how to do it. There is no real answer there's no answer other than take care of yourselves.
They can
This is a-
they can compare themselves with the Formula One racing.
I was just going to say, this is a high stakes industry.
Yeah.
We all understand the intensity of this sport. It is a beautiful sport. Me personally, I pull back to me because I love this sport because I had the freedom to be me. I was able to just be myself. I was able to be as intense, as crazy. I had the freedom to do and be me. Everybody loves that. Everybody loves that about the sport. Everybody loves that about their life. Name one person that hasn't done something or became they're a small business owner or a business owner because they want freedom in their life. They want the financial freedom to do great things. And with this, it's like this sport, this platform that we have has been created on that concept. And I think that more people need to understand that they're responsible for themselves.
They are, and we can't be held accountable to control their lives. We can't preclude someone from competing. Can you imagine the lawsuits that would come towards us if we say, no, you can't? Or, there are situations with transgender athletes.
Sure, that's a topic that...
And we can't,
Oh my
there's
God.
no way in the world we can tell someone, no, you can't compete. Can you imagine what would happen relative to that? So it's not up to us to control someone's personal lifestyle.
No, it's tough because whenever something bad happens, everybody wants to point the finger.
Understand that, but people sometimes, at some point in time, need to point the finger at themselves, looking in the mirror. And it's up to them to be accountable for themselves.
Yeah, I am that guy because I've already felt it. I know it's a tough situation, but the legal side of everything, the unsexy side of that as well.
People want to point the finger at the higher ups in any organization, but just like Sheru said, if a guy's going 220 miles an hour and slams into a wall, he knew getting into that car that was a risk.
Sure.
So people know the risks and they need to be accountable.
I thrive in those type of environments. I loved them. And I know that I always use Formula One or motorcycles. I see a dude on a motorcycle. I'm like, dude, no, no. It's crazy because it's not an if, it's a when. And if the more precaution that you take, the more practice, or the more time, the more experience, the better you get. But there's still always a risk.
Yep.
And I think people need to understand that and make sure that they take care of themselves. It's a hot topic. I know it's ugly, but no, I completely agree. I think the industry has provided the opportunity for me to have quite the platform, I start every YouTube video off with your favorite IFBB pro. I am. Definitely.
So we look forward to seeing you December 17th and 18th.
Oh, yeah. No,
We can't wait for
He's
you
there,
to do some
actually.
live sessions with me.
Yeah.
From
I'm
the
excited.
expo.
I'm
Yeah.
excited. Gentlemen, thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
I'm excited. This is the 40th year for the NPC Sheru Classic Nationals.
Yeah.
I know I keep butchering that name.
2021 Sheru Classic NPC Nationals. And on behalf of the entire management, I want to thank you and Accent Sledge for having us here. And we look forward to have you and the entire team at Orlando Convention Center on 17th, 18th December.
I love Florida. I'm excited. Gentlemen, thank you. Gary, I will never pose for you again. Sheru, I'll see you in December.
Thank you, my
We're
friend.
excited.
Appreciate it.
Everybody, thank you. Have a good day. Be
you.
a good motherfucker.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.